The stars shimmered like cold fire outside the viewpanes of the Dawnfire. A multi-species exploration cruiser gliding silently toward the unwelcoming shadow of RX-295, a planet so hostile. The Galactic Union didn't name it, only classified it. Class 15 Death World. Most planets with such a rating were quarantined on Discovery. Too violent, too unstable, too unpredictable. The only things that survived here were storms, volcanic eruptions, and gravity itself. Crushing and reshaping everything unlucky enough to touch the surface. Even in the crew's diverse experience, ranging from ice-choked moons to vacuum-pierced asteroid colonies, RX-295 was spoken of like myth. Engineers called it the breaker of machines. Biologists called it nature's mistake. To everyone else, it was simply impossible. And yet here they were, orbiting it. From the command deck, Captain Narration, stoic being with skin like burnished stone, watched the data flicker across the holoscreen. Radiation storms spiking again, gravity variance holding at 2.1 standard. Surface temperature, unstable. No signs of intelligent life. No traces of settlement. Second in command, Kellen adjusted his neural visor, processing the data stream with focused intensity. Still no reason why it's emitting a signal. Artificial low-band frequency. Started broadcasting 6 rotations ago. Power source unknown. The room fell quiet. RX-295 didn't have satellites. It didn't have buildings. It didn't have anything that should have allowed for a signal. So where was it coming from? The crew's mission was straightforward on paper. Investigate the signal, record anomalies, and retrieve any data caches. But even the Union's most advanced drones couldn't survive more than 23 minutes. On RX-295, before disintegrating or melting or simply ceasing to return data altogether. So this time they had to send flesh. The Dawnfire's drop shuttle, the Cinderhawk, was specially reinforced triple-armored, adaptive shielding, a hull built from reactive alloys mined from neutron stars. It was engineered for environments no sane species would tread. But even its hull groaned like a dying beast as it entered. RX-295's atmosphere. The descent was violence wrapped in gravity. Winds howled like they had voices. Liquid fire from the skies battered the shuttle's shields. The clouds weren't clouds at all, but superheated vapor laced with microscopic crystal shards, slicing at every exposed edge. Navigation systems glitched, recalibrated, then glitched again. Inside the shuttle, the crew felt it not fear exactly, but the weight of something ancient and wild pressing down on them. The kind of pressure that told every cell in the body, you are not meant to be here. And yet, something was. As the shuttle passed below the densest cloud layer, a plateau emerged through the haze. A jagged shelf of rock, possibly tectonically stable at least for the moment. Aliza Tareen, the crew's atmospheric analyst, called it out. Visual contact, rough landing zone, 2 clicks west of the signal source. Readings. Unusual. Unusual was putting it mildly. Terran tapped his sensor again, then again. Localized anomaly in temperature. Area directly around the signal site is stable. Calm, even. Surface heat dips by 30%. No seismic activity, no acid storms. Captain Nara leaned in, eyes narrowing. Pocket of survivability. Here, no, more like... Tareen paused. Like something is holding the environment back. The shuttle touched down with a bone-jarring thud. Dust hissed and sparked as it met the still-burning landing gear. Outside the viewport, the landscape was alien rage-crimson rock fields. Glowing fissures, clouds boiling in unnatural shapes. Yet just ahead, about 600 meters out, was a single peak of blackened stone. And at its base, a strange silhouette. Angular, metallic, worn with time, but intact. The signal's origin, not just a signal, a structure. A vessel. Captain Nara stood up slowly, a rare chill moving through her stone-like frame. "Prep the suits," she said. "Whatever that is, it survived. It shouldn't have." The crew exchanged tense glances. It's in a place where nothing lived. Something was waiting. The ramp of the Cinderhawk lowered with a reluctant hiss, releasing the explorers into a realm that felt more like a punishment than a planet. Even through layered envirosuits, The heat pressed against them like a living thing. The air shimmered with volatile gases, and the ground beneath their boots crunched not with dust, but with brittle, blackened crystal formed from whatever had melted and cooled again under the planet's relentless abuse. Despite the chaos all around, one thing stood out like a silent scream against the noise of the world. The structure, half buried in scorched stone and half claimed by centuries of wind-blasted erosion, the vessel protruded at an angle as though it had been thrown into the ground by a giant's hand. It wasn't sleek. It wasn't alien. It was practical, boxy, modular, and distinctly human. Kellen was the first to speak, voice crackling through the coms. "That's not Union tech. That's old. Very old. Pre-Federation, maybe. It's emitting a low-frequency beacon looping on an old Earth channel. Audio only." Captain Nara nodded. "Play it." The speaker buzzed, static for a moment. Then, mission log update. Day 482. Structure integrity holding.
Our level's at 30%.
No contact with command. Observation continues. Environment adapting. Proceeding with Phase 2. The voice was human, male. Calm. Too calm for someone stranded on the galaxy's most murderous planet. The crew stood in stunned silence. 482 days. Kellen whispered. No way. No way someone survived that long here. But the evidence was in front of them. The vessel's hull, though pitted, scored, and blackened, had not collapsed. Its alloy, unlike any known modern composite, was resisting the elements with quiet defiance. Even now, sensors detected a faint energy signature pulsing from within, as though the ship itself refused to die. At the edge of the exposed hull, half covered in ash and cooled magma, was a crude symbol, a stylized blue sphere etched beside a crescent. Earth, no accompanying species glyph, no alliance badge, just the Earth emblem, charred but unmistakable. "It's human," Terran said. "No question, but how?" Nara murmured. "There's no record of any human vessel charted in this sector. And this planet wasn't even discovered until 70 cycles ago." Kellen moved forward, running his hand along a panel, wiping away a layer of soot. Beneath it, he found something else: impact marks, small, consistent, claw-like, not from a crash, but from defensive positioning. The ship hadn't crashed. It had landed, or worse, been ambushed. The team's engineer, Lysa, called out from the far side. "Airlock's partially functional. Main hatch is sealed, but there's a maintenance crawl. I can override." The override took 6 minutes. 6 minutes of sweating under heat-dampened helmets while the planet rumbled and hissed around them. 6 minutes where the wind tried to sneak in through every seal, carrying with it the scent of scorched metal and dying ions. With a final hiss, the crawl hatch popped open. Inside, the temperature dropped immediately, barely noticeable, but real. A kind of atmospheric bubble still existed in the vessel. Like the ship had managed to push back against the Death World's pressure even after all this time. They entered single file. The interior was lit by dim, flickering wall strips. Gravity inside the ship had stabilized at normal levels. Strange, considering the external pull of the planet was twice as strong. A shielding field was still active in some areas, just enough to keep the bones of the ship from folding in on itself. Inside the command module, terminals still blinked in standby. A cracked but intact AI interface unit sat dormant in the wall socket, its logo reading Core AIV 6.7 Earth Directive Only. Terran kneeled, still online, just in sleep mode. "I can boot it, don't." Nara held up a hand. "Record everything first. No interference." Beyond the command deck, the team explored narrow corridors warped by pressure and time. They passed crew quarters spartan and empty. Medbay functional, but dust-coated. Supply lockers mostly raided or empty, except for one, bolted shut with manual override levers scratched from attempted access. Then they found the message wall, a panel etched with marks. Hundreds of tally lines. Some crossed, some boxed, some ending abruptly. "Days?" Kellen asked. "Or kills," Lysa muttered, pointing to strange stains on the floor. "Burn marks. Old blood, at the far end of the vessel, They reached the observatory dome, cracked, barely holding together. But there, leaning against the inner frame, was a suit, jet black, scorched, still upright. Inside, they saw no body, only a single, hollow helmet. A human nameplate on the collar. Ardane. Wherever he went, Nara said quietly, he left prepared. They turned back toward the command module as Tarine's voice crackled over comms. I accessed the last data ping, he said. The ship wasn't broadcasting distress. It was sending a report. Everyone froze. A report. Nara repeated. Yeah, Taryn said slowly. To someone or something off-world. The implication settled like ice in their blood. This wasn't a wreck. It was a relay station. On the galaxy's deadliest planet. And humans got here first. The interior of the Earth vessel pulsed with a slow, persistent hum, faint rhythmic, like a machine breathing in its sleep. Taryn stood before the AI core, fingers dancing across a makeshift interface he'd patched from his own toolkit. Keystroke echoed through the dim corridor like a whisper in a tomb. You're sure this is safe? Kellen asked, glancing around. Taryn didn't look up. If this unit was hostile, we'd already be dead. This ship survived over a century. On a Class 15 death world, if anything, it wants to be found. The others stood silently, watching as the screen sputtered to life. Symbols formed. English Ancient Earth Standard. Basic unencrypted. A surprisingly simple interface. Primitive even, but functional. A soft tone chimed. Core AI v6.7 online. Last user, CMDR Rex Dane time since last entry, 97.2 years user status, unknown power levels, 17% a flicker. Then a holoprojection emerged above the console. Grainy monochrome. A man in a hard suit appeared broad-shouldered, eyes sharp beneath a shaved scalp. Not young, not smiling. His face was the kind of face you only saw in stories from war zones and last stands. His voice, however, was calm, measured. Mission log. Commander Rex Dane. Day 529. Phase 2 initiated. Environment neutralization protocols are holding.
Oh.
Local fauna, a void zone perimeter pulses working as designed. Core reactor running low, but internal systems remain functional. Still no contact from Earth Command. If anyone receives this, I need you to understand something. This world isn't a mistake. It's a test. The projection paused, then restarted with a second log. Day 544. Strange anomalies in magnetic field. It's as if the planet is learning. Pressure patterns. Shift in response to our tech, but we're learning faster than another. Day 578. I've activated the observation drones. They're adapting better than expected. Built to break, rebuild, and learn from death. Like we are. I wasn't sent here to escape. I was sent here to challenge the planet, to push it to its limits. Humanity doesn't conquer by firepower alone. We evolve harder than the environment's trying to kill us. The logs cut off. Silence returned to the ship. But it wasn't the silence of emptiness. It was the kind of silence that waited. Taryn leaned back. This isn't just a survival story. No, Captain Nara agreed. Her voice, usually composed, carried a subtle edge now. This was intentional, a deliberate deployment. But why? Lysa asked, her hand still resting on the strange earth alloy of the hull. Why send a single human to the worst planet in the galaxy? To prove a point, Kellen said grimly. They turned to him, to show they could. He gestured to the AI logs. They didn't come here by accident. They came to see if they could adapt to something unadaptable. That's what Rex said. That's what this mission was about. Evolution by fire. And they didn't just survive, Nara added. They changed the local environment. See the pulse emitters still running? The atmosphere is stable in a 500-meter radius. Gravity is slightly reduced. Even the wildlife is avoiding the area. This ship tamed a corner of a death world, alone. She turned toward the viewing port. The glass had long since blackened from heat and corrosion, but sensors painted the picture, the hostile horizon beyond, the boiling skies above. and all of it being held back by a perimeter of quiet defiance. Terran's fingers moved again, accessing. Deeper layers of the AI. A new category appeared. Phase 3. Awaiting initiation. Authorization. Human command only encrypted. Genetic lock active Phase 3. Kellen asked. What's that? No idea, Terran muttered. But the system won't talk about it. It's locked to human biometric input only. Not species-wide either.
Right.
Individual-level DNA match. So we can't access it, Nara said. Not unless Rex is still alive, Lysa offered, half in jest, half in hope. They all paused. Then Kellen gestured toward a sealed bulkhead, marked deep storage. Do not open unless return is confirmed. Could be more than just data locked in here, he said. Cryostasis, cloning, hell, even preserved remains. Before they could move closer, the entire ship shuddered. Dust fell from the ceiling. A groaning sound echoed through the structure. But it wasn't the ship, it was the planet. External sensors blared a warning. Seismic activity increasing. Tectonic stress surge approaching.
Impact zone, current location.
But another warning blinked. Just beneath it, shield perimeter expanding. Defensive mode activating. They watched, stunned, as the readout showed the stabilization field widening, stretching, its boundaries outward as if the ship were preparing to protect them. Terran stared. At the screen wide-eyed, it's helping us. Oh, Nara said, realization dawning in her voice. It's protecting its mission. Asterisk, the vessel groaned again, not in pain, but in effort, as though it were awakening. As though it had sensed the crew not as intruders, but as witnesses, finally arriving to hear a story left half told. Inside the command chamber, the walls flickered to life, backlit by failing capacitors. The AI core, now stabilized by the crew's presence, flashed. A new prompt. Playback request detected. Mission report archives. Unlocked, commencing visual debrief without warning. The walls transformed into a three-dimensional holographic reconstruction. Full environmental overlay based on recorded logs. The interior of the ship dissolved in light, and suddenly the crew stood inside a vision, the world as it had been nearly 100 years ago. Through the eyes of Commander Rex Dane, the projection started on day 1. A small shuttle touched down under extreme turbulence. The ramp opened to reveal a lone human stepping into the storm. No backup, no crew. Just him, burdened with gear, a modified exosuit, and determination that clung to him like armor. He spoke into the log as he walked. RX-295, Class 15 Death World. Uncharted, unclaimed. The galaxy thinks it's uninhabitable. That's why I'm here. They want proof that humanity can thrive where others won't even attempt to land. I volunteered. The view shifted rapidly. Days blurred into weeks. The crew of the Dawnfire watched as Rex struggled to build infrastructure. His initial habitat was consumed by acidic fog in less than 3 days. He salvaged it, reinforced it, and built a new one deeper in the rock. He tested water sources that hissed like serpents. He burned through 6 power cores before developing a way to regulate energy flow under gravitational duress. He documented every mistake, every breakthrough, every near-death experience, and there were many. One log played on the right wall. Day 82. Planet's getting clever. Storms change direction when I set up solar towers. Like it's ... fighting back. But we fight. Harder. Another log. Day 161. Created a biopulse field. Keeps the local wildlife out of the perimeter. Still learning how they communicate. They're not mindless. They're just used to always winning. We'll teach them the value of losing. The projection shifted again. Day 312. A seismic event tore through his camp. Entire cliffs collapsed. Lava vents opened where solid ground had once been. His habitat was buried. He survived in a crevice for 6 days, rationing oxygen and chewing on powdered nutrient tabs till he could reroute a geothermal vent and boil his way out. The crew stood frozen. Kellen shook his head in disbelief. This isn't just survival. This is adaptation in real time, Terran finished. But the playback wasn't done. Now came the real revelation. Day 421. Phase 2 successful. Bioenvironmental controls are spreading. I've seeded drones across the valley. Atmospheric density has decreased. Acidity is retreating. Fauna movement patterns show long-term behavioral changes. This planet is losing its bite. He turned to the camera in one log-direct eye contact. You were wrong to call this place unlivable. It just needed a new alpha species. The final portion of the playback showed something truly staggering. From a high aerial drone, a wide portion of RX-295's landscape had shifted. Where once there was volcanic chaos and chaotic terrain, there was now a stabilized climate bubble nearly 5 kilometers wide, bordered with seismic dampeners, fauna repulsion fields, and terraforming nodes emitting faint pulses. They hadn't just stabilized one zone, Rex had been building a colony seed. Liss gasped. That's not a shelter. That's a forward base. Tareen checked the ship's systems. All of it's still linked. The AI, the drones, the field emitters, it's all feeding from the same network. Then why hasn't anyone come back? Kellen asked. Why is it abandoned? Because maybe, Nara said, her eyes locked on the image of the stabilized valley. It isn't. She turned to the AI console. Query, has there been contact from Earth or any human command structure since last log? The AI flickered, its voice strangely neutral. Access denied. Security protocol active. Awaiting Phase 3 activation. Command link. Encrypted. Nara narrowed her eyes. So someone could still be listening. Da-da-da-da. A slow silence passed between the crew. The implication was heavy. Humanity hadn't just beaten the most dangerous planet in the known galaxy. They'd prepared it, designed it, tamed it, and then they vanished, leaving behind a machine still running, still holding the line, still waiting for orders. Suddenly, a tone sounded from the console. A new message. Not from the logs, not from the past, but live. A small, blinking symbol appeared, a communication ping. Incoming signal, source unknown, encryption, Earth Directive 9 command signature match. Rex Dane Lysa turned to the others. Face pale. Wait. Did that say incoming? The screen blinked once more. Then a voice. Ragged, war-worn. Human, if you're hearing this, then I was right. Someone finally came. Stay put. I'm on my way. The voice still echoed in the command deck, raw and real. If you're hearing this, then I was right. Someone finally came. Stay put, I'm on my way. Silence followed, dense and suffocating. The crew exchanged looks, each silently doing the same math. Commander Rex Dane had disappeared almost a century ago, yet the signal had come through now. The biometric and encryption markers authenticated by the ship's ancient Earth-coded AI? Impossible, unless he was still alive. Is that a recording? Kellen asked, voice tight. No, Taryn answered, eyes fixed on the terminal. Timestamp's live. It was sent just now. From the planet's surface. Coordinates? Captain Nara demanded. Taryn tapped furiously at the console, drawing from the ship's still active sensors and mapping systems. A small point flared on the map, about 3.8 kilometers east of their location. In the shadow of a fractured canyon system, seismic scans showed the ground there was hollow tunnels, possibly even a complex structure beneath the surface. But that wasn't the most pressing concern. Taryn's expression darkened. We've got movement. The wall projection flared. Back to life, now showing external thermal signatures. Multiple heat sources were closing in. From 3 directions, not machines. Not drones, creatures large, multi-limbed, with uneven body temperatures, cold-blooded perhaps, or something far worse. They were not approaching at random either. Their vectors were converging like a hunting formation. The perimeter sensors, still active from the ship's biopulse field, began flashing red. Fauna response. Aggressive. Defensive mode activated. Estimated time to breach perimeter. 7 minutes. Defensive grids degrading, Dren said, backing away from the console. The emitters weren't designed to last this long. That voice must have triggered something. They're reacting to us. Captain Nara moved fast. Weapons. Lysa reinforced the entryway. Kellen, get eyes on the terrain. Terran, see if you can draw more juice from the core to buy us time? Wait, Kellen said, pulling up the sensor feed again. They're avoiding the central ship. Look, see this radius? On the visual, the creatures skirted a wide ring around the vessel, refusing to step directly into the core area. Prowled the perimeter like wolves encircling a fire, held back by something they feared. Is it the pulse field? Lysa asked. No, Terran replied slowly. The field's nearly dead. Whatever's stopping them, it's psychological. It's learned behavior. From Rex? Nara guessed. From years of him out there teaching them who owns this place. Terran said grimly. The ship shuddered again. Not from impact, but from motion underneath. One of the walls cracked slightly near the rear bulkhead. A panel popped open, and a drone ancient, battered and humming with life rolled out. It was no larger than a crate, but bristled with sensors and small, flexible arms. The AI lit up. Autonomous scout drone Zadawan, rebooted last active day. 7112 directive. Monitor evolutionary response to human dominance patterns. Lysa repeated. What the hell were they doing here? The drone whirred and deployed a projection of historical playback, this one not of logs but of animal encounters. The same species now encroaching on their location had over years tested. Rex's perimeters attacked his drones and suffered heavily for it. One recording showed Rex himself emerging from a foxhole in full armor, wielding a brutal kinetic weapon and single-handedly driving back a swarm of clawed beasts with unnerving precision. He didn't just survive. He asserted dominance over the ecosystem through behavior conditioning, strategy, and overwhelming retaliation. These were not wild creatures anymore. They were trained animals. We're not being attacked, Nara realized. We're being tested. Terran turned from the screen, pale. You think Rex trained them? Taught them how to test intruders? I think, Nara said. This was Phase 3. Suddenly a dull boom echoed from outside. The sensors flared. One of the larger creatures had triggered a seismic plate. But the shockwave had hit a false perimeter, a decoy emitter site, still partially active. The creature stumbled, then screamed a high-pitched, guttural noise that vibrated through their bones. That's when they saw it. Outside the observation deck's cracked window, a shape emerged over the canyon ridge, massive, upright. Moving with terrifying speed and unnatural grace for something its size, its skin shimmered with camouflaged plating. Its eyes glowed like coals behind a skull-like crest. But it wasn't alone. Behind it, two more followed, smaller, leaner, flanking it like subordinates. Pack structure, intelligent. Coordination. These weren't random fauna. These were Rex's hounds. The crew instinctively stepped back, but the AI spoke again as if anticipating their fear. Behavioral analysis. Subject group recognizes vessel as apex origin. Perimeter threat level, moderate. Recommendation, do not engage unless provoked. Remain within influence radius. Await phase transition. What's phase transition mean? Lysa asked nervously. No one answered. The creatures began circling, pacing like guards at the edge of a throne room. And then, as if on cue, a second transmission arrived. This time, no encryption. No voice. Just 5 words. Do not leave the ship. The message was signed with the same command code as before, Rexstain. And beneath that, if they test you, pass. A realization struck Nara then, more chilling than the planet's heat, more weighty than the pressure outside. This was no longer a mission of exploration. They hadn't stumbled onto a relic of Earth's past. They had stepped into a living system, a still-running, unsanctioned human experiment. One where the environment had been rewritten, the predators reprogrammed, the planet turned into a proving ground. Rex hadn't just survived, he had conquered the unconquerable, and now the system was watching to see if they were worthy of. What came next? Asterisk, the crew didn't sleep. Not because they were afraid, though. Fear hung heavy in the air, but because the ship, the planet, and whatever lay beyond the darkness refused to let them rest. The creatures had stopped moving just before the second moon rose above RX-295's volcanic horizon. They remained stationed around the perimeter like statues. Their red eyes blinked. In perfect sequence every 11 seconds each time, facing the ship in unison, Terran had counted over 300 cycles. Exactly. He didn't believe in superstition. But this pattern wasn't random. It was discipline. Conditioning. No wildlife. Ever blinked in formation, these weren't animals anymore. They were sentinels. Inside the command module, the crew had sealed off all but one access point, reinforced the hull breach, and diverted what remained of the ship's dwindling power into shields and sensors. They had weapons Union-issue plasma rifles, electronet casters, shock fields, but somehow they all felt insufficient. It's like bringing firecrackers to a supernova. Kellen stood near the viewport, hands resting on the bulkhead. We're not under. Siege, we're under. Evaluation, Captain Nara didn't argue. She sat at the central console, reviewing every log, every file, every piece of data left behind by Commander Rex Dane. A new line of code had appeared during the night. It was buried deep in the AI's maintenance protocols, time-locked and encoded for future activation. The system marked it, Phase 3, Convergence Mode. What do you think it means? Lisa asked as she stared at the file tree. Taran answered. Instead, it means this ship, those creatures, and that man out there were all part of the same final step. This was never just an observation post. It's a selection site. For what? She whispered. For us. At 0500 hours local time, the AI chimed. Its voice was less robotic now, warmer, more human. Movement detected. Incoming entity. Single life form. Approach vector. Direct. Biometric match. 91%. Source. Human. Everyone turned to the screen. There. On the cracked black rock outside the ship, a lone figure approached. He wore a hybrid exosuit, patched, scorched, and wrapped in fiber mesh made from local material. Pieces of chitin and metal reinforced the frame. On his back, a long staff, welded from what looked like a Union drive rod and fossilized bone. His pace was slow, deliberate. His movements radiated strength and precision. Behind him, the massive apex creature followed, silent, obedient, stopping. When the figure raised a single hand, the crew gasped. It was him, Rex Dane, or something that had once been him. Closer now, they could see the scars across his face, deep grooves, etched by claw, heat, and time. His right arm was fully replaced, cobbled from machine parts and reinforced with what might have been Earthborn tech, repurposed into living armor. His eyes glowed faintly under his helmet, visor augmented, enhanced. He stopped 20 meters from the ship and waited. The crew didn't move at first. Then Nara made the decision. She opened the outer ramp. The planet's heat rolled in like a predator's breath. But she walked forward anyway, gun slung at her side, helmet sealed, mind racing. When she stood 5 meters from him, she spoke through the suit's external speaker. Commander Rex Dane? He didn't respond immediately. He studied her like a scientist examines a new subject. Finally, he gave a small nod. What is this? She asked. This whole setup? This ship? These creatures? Are we prisoners or participants? He tilted his head slightly. You're not prisoners, he said. His voice was a graveled echo of the Logzogd, tempered by solitude and survival. This isn't a trap, it's a threshold. He gestured toward the creatures, still waiting like guards at the gate of some forgotten temple. I trained them to respond to dominance, to intelligence, to restraint. They've killed every other species that's come here, but they didn't kill you.
I not.
Nara asked. Because you didn't panic. You observed, you adapted, you passed the first test. He walked slowly toward her. The apex creature behind him growled once, but stayed put. Phase 3 wasn't about me surviving. It was about proving humanity could shape what others feared. That we weren't just strong, we were contagious. That our will could infect even the deadliest places in the galaxy. He stopped a meter away. You came here expecting a mystery or ruins. Instead, you found something still alive. still evolving. And now it's asking, are you ready to evolve with it? Behind them, the AI in the ship activated again. Phase 3 protocol. Candidate evaluation complete. New directive. Choose. Stay. Or advance. Nara looked back at the Cruderin. Lisa Kalen standing at the ramp, staring out at the changed man and the tamed death world. She turned back to Rex. What does advance mean? His lips curled into a small, worn smile. It means you don't go home, asterisk. The words hung in the air like prophecy. It means you don't go home. Captain Nara stood still, staring into the eyes of a man who should have been long dead. Behind him, the apex predator flinched, as if the planet itself reacted to his declaration. Her team Tareen, Kellen, and Lyce remained at the edge of the loading ramp, watching, their minds racing with the implications. You mean we're trapped here? Kellen finally said. This is some kind of prison. Rex Dane turned, slowly. No, he said. It's a frontier. He walked toward the ship, the ground beneath his boots seeming to respond, cracks closing behind him, heat lessening. Even the wind had stilled. When I was sent here, Rex said, Earth Command didn't expect survival. They didn't expect progress. But they wanted proof. They wanted to know whether humanity could do something more than adapt. They wanted to know if we could overcome nature itself, reshape it not with brute force, but with sheer will. He gestured toward the horizon. The creatures surrounding the camp hadn't moved. They didn't need to. Their presence wasn't a threat anymore. It was a message. You are inside something now, something alive, something human-built. You just didn't recognize it yet. This planet isn't a death world anymore, Rex continued. It's a birthplace of something new. Nara crossed her arms. A new species. No, he said with a quiet smile. A new kind of civilization. One that isn't afraid to start at the bottom of the food chain.
Ice.
Inside the ship, Terran's console blinked. Directive unlocked. Colonization protocol. Ghost class designation. RX-295. Status. Viable human stronghold status. Active what's ghost class? Lysa asked, reading it over his shoulder. It means the world is no longer just being observed, Terran whispered. It's been claimed quietly, without the Union, without anyone knowing. The AI chimed again. Core report. Transmission to Earth Command. Failed new directive. Autonomous expansion. The realization hit. Hard. Humanity hadn't waited for permission. They had simply acted. They had dropped one man onto a death world and waited. And when the galaxy forgot about him, when the Union failed to notice the signal growing faint and strange, when no help came, Rex didn't die, he built, and the planet had changed because of him. Back outside, Rex led the crew along a narrow path, through a canyon now quiet and strangely beautiful. The jagged stone glistened with faint organic like in terraformed life, introduced slowly, resistant to acid and heat. Above them, drones fluttered in the sky, wings humming low, scanning the terrain, harvesting data. We seeded hundreds of worlds in the early colonization phase, Rex said as they walked. Most failed, some vanished. RX-295 was written off as a loss. But that was the plan. What do you mean? Kellen asked. Humanity needed to disappear, Rex said, to frighten the galaxy. The Union kept talking about cooperation. Treaties, diplomacy, that's fine. But history isn't made in conference rooms. It's made in the places no one else dares to go. They emerged onto a ridge. Below them stretched a vast crater, valley lush, green and vibrant. Forests flowing. Water. Stabilized atmosphere. Native fauna that now coexisted with Earth-adapted flora. Drones moved between makeshift outposts. Solar towers stood like forgotten relics, still gleaming, and at the center, a human settlement, partially constructed, built. From the bones of shattered drones, native rock, and hardened steel. What's this? Lysa breathed. Rex looked out with pride. This is the new Terra. Not Earth, not a copy. Something harder, smarter. Something that doesn't ask for a place. In the galaxy, it takes it. Tyrene slowly lowered his scanner. You've been living here? Building all this? Alone? Rex gave a small, tired smile. Not alone. I had help. They turned to see a group of figures approaching from the far side of the ridge. Humans. Maybe 20 of them, all wearing modified suits like Rex. Different ethnicities, different ages, different builds. But the same look in their eyes, survivors.pioneers. Double quotes. Where did they come from? Kellen asked. Other ghost worlds, Rex said. Places like this. Experiments. Hidden seeds. Only the best made it. Now we converge here. Nara stared at him. This was never a test of the planet, she said. No, he replied. Was a test of us. Back at the ship, the AI delivered one final message. It was addressed not to Rex, not to Earth, but to any future arrivals. RX-295, Death World Classification, rescinded new designation, Tier 1 Human. Origin Site Claimant. Homo sapiens Unaffiliated Galactic Union Notification, not required message to all who follow. This world belonged to fear. Now it belongs to us. And so it was that the crew of the Dawnfire, sent to chart a ghost signal from a forgotten world, found not ruins, but roots, not death, but dominion. RX-295 was not a world humanity had survived. It was one they had rewritten. Humanity was not the first to arrive. They were the first to endure, the first to conquer, and the last to leave, because in the darkest, most dangerous corners of the galaxy, humanity was already there,